Welcome back to my channel. It's gonna be a good one today. I'm doing my first video on Halsey and I'm super excited. So we're gonna be looking at all of her tours from Badlands to Love and Power, and I'm gonna reveal my favorite at the end. So let's get into it. The Badlands tour. It was the start of it all. Halsey split this tour up into installments. So starting with the first installment of Badlands tour, it lasted about 2 months, and this tour consisted of pretty small venues. It was a lot of theater-sized venues, and I unfortunately couldn't attend this tour, but it's all good because I got to see Halsey at Webster Hall in 2019, so that kind of made up for it. So I went ahead and found a picture of the set list from the first installment. Oh, just this whole album is amazing live. And I love hearing all these songs in one set list. I think that it makes for such a good show. Like, it's just such a cohesive album, and it really feels like you're there, like when she's performing these songs. It's just amazing. So with the first installment of the Badlands tour, since it was in smaller venues, there wasn't really like a large stage setup or anything. I think it was definitely a great decision. That first installment was really just for Halsey to get in front of a crowd and play this new album. So I think it was perfect. I didn't go, so I didn't get to see I didn't get to experience that tour for myself, just through like videos online and stuff, but yeah, it seemed so special because it was the first time they were touring this music and like as a whole, and I think that was probably such a cool experience. Now moving along to the final installment of the Badlands tour. This was Halsey's second round of US dates. So the final installment of the Badlands tour lasted a little over a month. This tour took place in arenas, so there was a lot more space to work with, and the crowds were just immensely bigger. So it was definitely like a night and day experience from the first installment to the final installment. So I actually did end up seeing Halsey this time around, and it was my first time seeing her. I went to the MSG show, and how old was I? I was 15 when I went to this show. So this was the set list from the final installment of Badlands tour. I actually made this picture, so talent come through. The set list pretty much had the same songs as the first installment, just like in a little bit of a different order. And I think that was cool because it gave more people a chance to hear this album live. Also, as a side note, for the show I went to, which was the closing night of the tour, she switched Colors and Young God. So Young God was the closer, and I thought that was just the most epic thing ever, and I'm so happy I saw it that way. Oh my gosh. And then the iconic "You Can Find Me in the Kingdom" showed up on the screen after the show. That was so crazy. Let's talk about the Badlands stage setup, because it's just one of the coolest things ever to this day. I absolutely love it. And of course, compared to the first installment, I mean, there was actually room for like a stage set, and there were visuals. It was our first time seeing Halsey visuals, and we all know how incredible those are. And this was like her first tour, so it was like a little sneak peek into everything that was to come, and it was just awesome. I tried to find the best pictures I could of the stage setup, so I will put those in now. Oh my god. The stage setup mixed with the visuals behind it is just insane. Like, I'm just still amazed by this. One thing I need to say is that I love the hurricane visuals for like every tour because it usually involves lightning and it looks so sick. This stage setup is so creative and I really think it makes you feel like you're in the Badlands, which is so cool to me. It just adds to the experience so much. It's honestly so impressive what Halsey was able to do on her first tour. Like, this was her first tour, and she closed it out with MSG. And as we all know, the story behind Badlands just adds to the excitement of like seeing these visuals and seeing the story be told in front of us. Like, you're seeing these songs be brought to life pretty much. And I love that. I mean, the bar being set that high for Halsey's first tour is just unbelievable for what we get afterwards. Speaking of afterwards, the next tour is the Hopeless Fountain Kingdom World Tour. Again, this tour was split up into installments, so she did 2 rounds of US dates, kind of like the Badlands tour. For one set of US dates, she did arenas, and for the other set, she did smaller venues. But for Hopeless Fountain Kingdom, it was flipped. So installment 1 lasted about 2 months, and it was a fall tour. And I love fall tours. I really do. Fall's my favorite season. So I did attend this tour. I went to the Brooklyn show and this was one of the best days of my life. Hands down. That's gonna be a whole nother video. But getting back to it. This was the Hopeless Fountain Kingdom tour set list. It was pretty much the same for every show. There were a couple like surprises along the way, and also the fan chosen song, which was voted for by the VIPs. This set list was phenomenal. I mean, most of it was Hopeless Fountain Kingdom. She didn't play Devil in Me on this tour. I think every other song, oh, Hopeless. She didn't, well, Hopeless played as like an interlude, but she didn't perform it. And then they did 100 Letters if it was chosen by the fans. But besides that, I think every other song was included from that album. So I love that. I love getting to see like full albums played out on a tour dedicated solely to that album. So getting to the stage setup, it's one of my favorite stage setups ever. Here's a few pictures from the Hopeless Fountain Kingdom tour. So this picture was taken from the B stage, and let me talk about the B stage because I loved that part of the show. The B stage had water on it, so Halsey did like a little bit of water choreography, which was so cool. And I was like straining my neck to try and see that, and it was worth it. It was so worth it. Of course, I had to include a picture of the hurricane visuals because I love them. Also, I gotta give credit to all of the looks from the Hopeless Fountain Kingdom tour. I am still in love with that HFK jersey. That is one of the coolest things ever, and I still wish that was merch, but I'm over it. It's okay. I'm not over it. The second time Halsey came around to the US was in 2018. The North America dates were actually really spaced out. It went from May to August, but there were Latin America dates in between. Compared to installment 1 of the HFK tour, these North America dates were at smaller venues, and I think some of them were at outdoor venues, which was cool because it allowed for like basically a different experience. I unfortunately did not attend any of these dates, but it's okay because I already went to the HFK tour and the set list was about the same. Oh yeah, I couldn't find any pictures of the set list for the final installment because it was like slightly different for every show. Like I was on Setlist FM looking at each show, and there was at least one song change for like every show, but I think that's so cool. It makes the experience unique. That kind of wraps up the HFK tour. So following the HFK tour comes the infamous Manic World Tour, which did not see the light of day in the US. Very sadly, as we all know. These were the Manic World Tour dates for the US. And I think this tour was split up into installments, and the US was like the second installment, I'm pretty sure. So we were gonna be summer of 2021, or no, I think we were summer of 2020, then it got pushed back to 2021, then it was canceled. Tears. So unfortunately, I did not get to attend this tour, but I'm sure most of you watching didn't either, and we went through it together. Even though this tour never happened in the US, I am still very grateful that we got to see videos from the few dates that did happen, and we got this incredible set list. If you were one of the lucky people that went to the Manic tour, you're a lucky duck. Like, genuinely. The Manic World Tour was absolutely beautiful, and I wish more people could have seen it. Backtrack, because I totally forgot that before this tour happened, Halsey said it was going to be her last tour for a very long time. And obviously that didn't end up happening because we got Love and Power tour since Manic Tour was canceled. Everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad it happened the way it did. So these are pictures of the set, which was so awesome. I think this tour focused on visuals in a very different way than Hopeless Fountain Kingdom. I think that, if I'm remembering correctly, the Manic Tour had slightly more visuals including Halsey than HFK did, which I thought was a really cool addition because, you know, this album was very much Ashley, and them putting themselves on the screen, it just made it so much more personal. I love shows that have huge screen backdrops like that, despite them like literally blinding you at points because of how bright it can be. Halsey has some of the best visuals ever. I guess there's not really much else to say about the Manic Tour because we didn't really get to see that much of it, but from what we did see, it held its own with the other tours, and I think it was really special what we did get. Yeah, it's really cool that we got those few dates to like still kind of experience what it would have been like. And moving along to the next tour, and the last tour that Halsey did, which was the Love and Power tour. Here are the tour dates for the US leg. I think we were the second set of dates. I'm pretty sure that the tour started in like February or something. So this tour lasted a little less than 2 months in the US. I did attend this tour. I went to the Atlanta show, and it actually ended up being the day before the Five Sauce show in Atlanta. So I got to see like two of my absolute favorites, one after the other, which was insane. So of course, the Love and Power tour was for Halsey's 4th album, If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. I think this was the tour we were all waiting for because this was like Halsey's rock album, and I think we all needed that energy live at that point. I think this tour came at the perfect time. This is the iconic set list from the Love and Power tour. Before we get into praising the setup of these songs, I did just want to note that a few of them were interchanged and switched out for other songs as the tour went on. I don't remember all the changes, but I do remember that More was switched out for 100 Letters Stripped at some point, I think. And then I remember for a few shows, they didn't play Experiment on Me, and Girl is a Gun was always like up in the air whether she was gonna play it or not. They also added the Running Up That Hill cover when Stranger Things came out, which was so awesome. I still wish that they recorded a studio version of it, but at least we have a version of it. It was really cool. I got to hear Girl is a Gun live. However, because of weather issues, there was some lightning at some point during the show, so we had to stop it. And because of that, 100 Letters Stripped and Darling were sacrificed. So sad. So we did have a few fallen soldiers during that show, but the one that probably hurts the most for me was not getting Experiment on Me. That is still to this day so devastating to me. I need to hear Experiment on Me live, and I will. I'm putting it out into the universe. All right, so getting into the structure of the set list, this whole thing is just genius. The set list was like broken up into chapters, as you can see in this picture, and I think it was just, it really felt like we were a part of the show. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but going through these songs in this specific order and like feeling the energy from Halsey and from everyone else in the crowd, like it made such a therapeutic experience, and I just love the way that this was set up. It was really, really cool. So getting into the stage setup for the Love and Power tour, I think it's pretty safe to say that the visuals for this tour kind of take the cake over any other tour that Halsey has done. And then as for the stage setup, it was actually pretty simple, which I really enjoyed because this show focused a lot on visuals and lighting over like actual things on the stage. And despite this show focusing more on the visuals and the lighting, of course, in true Halsey nature, she started the show up in the air. So this picture is taken during the Tradition, which opened the show, and she was like up above the screen. Halsey's just gotta defy gravity at her concerts, and I love it. I'm here for it. I just absolutely love all of the elements of this tour. I think that the way it came together, it really felt like everything had a place, and it felt like every decision was made for a reason, and I love things like that. Like, you could tell all of the hard work that went into it, and that Halsey really did not want to disappoint with this tour. I guess that wraps up all of Halsey's tours, and I don't know, I guess we'll have to wait and see when the next one's gonna be, but my fingers are crossed for next year. So now that I've been through all of the tours, it's time to reveal my personal favorite. My favorite Halsey tour, hands down, is Hopeless Fountain Kingdom. And I was trying so hard, like, while talking about it, to not just go absolutely off the rails. It's just one of the best tours I've ever been to, even outside of Halsey. Like, there's not much that comes close to that tour, and just everything from the visuals to the stairs and the B stage. The album is paid dust, if we're gonna be honest. Hopeless Fountain Kingdom is the forgotten sister. HFK is so special to me, and that stage is one of my favorite things ever. When I was in high school, I actually did the talent show and I sang Castle, and we had like these stairs from one of the school plays, and I was like, for my performance, can you guys like set up the stairs next to each other so like they're facing the audience? And like I had them recreate the HFK tour stage setup because I was in love with it so much. I was like, I want to do this. It was my last talent show at the school, so I was like, we're gonna go out with a bang. It just goes to show how much I love that tour. And I mean, besides the fact of my personal experience with that tour, that just adds to the reason why it's my favorite. But even leaving that out, I think that just the production of it was nothing I had ever seen before, and I was amazed by it. I was absolutely amazed by it. I think that Love and Power Tour is a very, very close second. The visuals from that tour are just like a movie. It's insane. I absolutely loved getting to take a look back at all of these tours and relive some memories. I also think that this is going to become a little series. Like, I'll be looking back on other artists' tours for sure. I was actually going to do 21 Pilots first, but I haven't done a Halsey video, so I had to do this one first, and I'm really happy I did. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon. Peace out.